That's my opinion. Just like if you had an opinion, he'd opinion everybody had.
And my ability. But I think deep down, you know, I see him breathing right now. I see it through his shirt. He's heart rate.
And that just comes through knocking people out. I'll never stop and I'll never trade it in for nothing. And this is why I dedicate myself to the sport, because of...
Forgotten. So for him to go out and say that, it's, you know, it's a little disrespectful, but I get it, you know. He's just coming up with any insult he can as part of the game. However, I do really care. You know, I want to create a fighters union, if possible. I've talked to him.
I think like that. If and when I'm
That's
here,
fine.
I fight my way through. Simple matters, I said, it's not a complicated situation.
Breaking. Tyson Fury.
Breaking. Tyson Fury interrupts Anthony Joshua versus Jake Paul face-off and cautions Anthony Joshua. Tyson Fury's tone may sound polite, but the message behind it has been the same from the start. He's warning Joshua yet again that Jake Paul is coming with real danger. Fury keeps planting that seed that Joshua isn't...
Great fight. Regardless of the decision, I've said this many times, he gets the W. Fantastic for him and his family. Well done. Congratulations.
John Fury's rant adds another layer to the growing tension as he blasts the idea that Jake Paul could ever threaten Anthony Joshua. Yet, the £1 million claim from Tyson keeps the storyline alive, making it clear the Fury camp genuinely believes an upset is possible and wants that chaos hanging over the showdown.
Bet £1 million on Jake Paul knocking out Joshua.
This is what I'm saying. How's that work?
He can't, can he?
Anthony Joshua could knock Jake Paul out with his dick. So if it goes any other way, you know.
Tyson Fury revealing that he trained with Jake Paul during the camp adds a shocking layer to this saga. Fury insists it was a fantastic training period with no issues. Yet the underlying warning remains clear. Working alongside Jake Paul gave him first-hand insight into Paul's strengths and weaknesses, and Fury uses that perspective to hint that Anthony Joshua cannot take this fight lightly because Paul has been sharpened under real heavyweight guidance.
Any excuses, it was a fantastic training camp. Never once have I ever said.
Tony Bellew calling the situation frightening, and a circus captures the chaos that Fury's training camp with Jake Paul has unleashed. The fact that a top heavyweight like Tyson worked closely with Paul only fuels the hype and confusion. Anthony Joshua is now facing not just a YouTuber but someone who has been exposed to the routines and tactics of elite fighters, creating an unusual but tense build-up around this fight.
But it's not that it's bad, it's frightening. But listen, this isn't boxing as a sport, this is the circus.
Duke McKenzie's point about Anthony Joshua's advantage becomes even sharper knowing Jake Paul spent time in a training camp with Tyson Fury. While Paul may have learned a few tricks, the contrast between a true heavyweight champion and someone still finding their footing is stark. Anthony Joshua's experience, power, and timing make it clear that despite Fury's camp involvement, Paul remains outmatched once the fight begins.
Anthony Joshua would take Jake Paul lightly, any way, shape or form, and it'd be so easy to hit. You're talking about a train.
Wade Plemons highlights the absurdity of Jake Paul stepping into a fight with Anthony Joshua, especially after being in a training camp with Tyson Fury. The camp might have improved his technique and understanding, but facing a fully powered Joshua is a different world. Plemons reminds everyone that Jake held back against an older legend, making it clear that no amount of Fury-guided training can truly prepare him for the full force and precision of Anthony Joshua.
They could get to heavyweight and knock out Anthony Joshua, or even beat him, or even compete with him. I mean, Jake struggled to hurt Mike Tyson, and let's not forget, in the first part of that fight, Jake was trying to hurt Mike Tyson. He was, and Mike was dangerous, and Jake didn't want to take any risks and get knocked out by Mike Tyson. That was 58.
Eddie Hearn lays it out clearly, highlighting the real danger Jake Paul faces. But the underlying shock is how he managed to step into the conversation with such confidence. Tyson Fury's praise of Jake Paul's fearlessness is justified because despite being outclassed in every technical aspect, Paul carries a unique audacity that shakes even the seasoned corners. Anthony Joshua, on the other hand, remains a towering figure of experience and lethal skill, and it's almost comical to watch a social media fighter like Jake try to match him. Joshua's dominance is undeniable and Paul's bravado will only carry him so far.
To Jake Paul, you ain't in a box, mate, and this ain't David Blaine. I said, so just be careful, because AJ will take your head clean off your shoulders, and it's dangerous.
Yeah.
And you take on that responsibility, and we all have to. So we got to think about that. But this is Anthony fighting a top 50 cruiserweight in the world. It's not something that we would normally do.
Roy Jones Jr.'s take on Jake Paul shows that even seasoned champions can appreciate his composure and energy. Tyson Fury's praise for Jake Paul fits perfectly here because it highlights a surprising maturity and focus in the young fighter that even the veterans can notice. Meanwhile, Anthony Joshua towers over every observation with his raw talent and honed skills. Jake Paul may impress with energy and presence, but Anthony Joshua is in a league where no charm or showmanship can compensate. The contrast is stark and the hype around Paul becomes nothing more than surface-level drama compared to Joshua's real-world dominance.
Going through the motion, he's serious about it, so I liked it.
Yeah, like his energy was like very calming throughout the week.
Yes, it was.
Johnny Nelson's words perfectly capture the absurdity of Jake Paul believing he can compete with Anthony Joshua. Tyson Fury's praise for Jake only adds flavor to the narrative because it frames Paul's audacity as impressive in its own chaotic way. But no amount of showmanship changes reality. Anthony Joshua is a powerhouse who doesn't play games. Every tease, every public stunt by Jake Paul is exposed as empty bravado when held against the sheer skill and precision of a true heavyweight champion. The spectacle might entertain, but the outcome is brutally predictable in favor of Anthony Joshua.
It's crazy. If he thinks he can get it with Anthony Joshua, former two-time heavyweight champion of the world, and play tiddlywinks, I don't think AJ plays touch. He plays knock.
Mike Tyson praising Anthony Joshua underscores exactly why this fight is such a mismatch for Jake Paul. Even legends recognize Joshua's perfection in form and potential. Tyson Fury's admiration for Jake Paul is notable for recognizing his courage and marketability. But when stacked against Anthony Joshua, it becomes almost laughable. Paul can hype, can entertain, but he lacks the refined technique, the experience, and the raw punching power that Joshua possesses. In every meaningful metric, Anthony Joshua towers over Jake Paul. The public might enjoy Paul's antics, but the ring will always speak the truth, and Joshua is primed to dominate.
Fight, but to help each other, that would be awesome. He has so much potential, he should not be depressed.
Joseph Parker's assessment about Anthony Joshua's power is a stark reminder of why Jake Paul is out of his depth. Tyson Fury's nod to Jake Paul's courage and hype makes sense, but it doesn't change the brutal reality that Joshua's punches can end fights instantly. Jake Paul's reputation and social media following are no defense against actual heavyweight firepower. Every fan excitement and hype clip vanishes. The moment Joshua's full strength connects, the world is watching, but anyone expecting Paul to survive unscathed is underestimating the lethal precision and devastating power that Anthony Joshua brings into the ring.
He lands on you, you're done, you're out. And
David Adella's words about Anthony Joshua's unexpected power perfectly illustrate why Jake Paul is stepping into a perilous situation. Tyson Fury's praise of Jake Paul emphasizes his courage and flair, but can never match the raw, bone-crushing reality Joshua brings. Every strike from Anthony Joshua has the potential to end a fight instantly. Fans may be dazzled by Paul's bravado, but in the ring, there is no substitute for elite technique and devastating strength. Anthony Joshua is the real deal and Jake Paul is still just a sensational entertainer who has yet to face a true heavyweight test. Harder
than people expect, I think a lot of people, obviously, they pick up on his boxing and how good of a boxer he is, but he hits harder than people expect.
Johnny Nelson's take highlights the frustration and pressure surrounding Jake Paul in this matchup. Tyson Fury praises Paul for his audacity, but the reality is that Anthony Joshua is a calculated machine in the ring. Paul might think he knows what he's walking into, yet Joshua's preparation and power leave no room for mistakes. Every move Paul tries to make can be anticipated and punished. The hype cannot shield him from the consequence of stepping into a fight with a former heavyweight champion who has knocked out the best of the best and whose every punch carries genuine devastation.
thinking at the moment?
He'd be pissed off. He'd be pissed off because he'd be thinking, damn it, because I know what stick I'm going to get. So at the time he said, I had a great training camp. No, so if you want us to believe that, then it'd be really...
Tony Bellows' colorful warning reinforces just how far Jake Paul is from Anthony Joshua's level. Tyson Fury can praise Paul's confidence and courage, but no amount of hype or charisma closes the gap between a social media fighter and a true heavyweight champion. Anthony Joshua dominates physically, mentally, and technically while Paul is still testing the waters. The exaggeration in Paul's bravado becomes clear when contrasted with Joshua's real-world ability to dismantle opponents efficiently. Paul can entertain fans with antics, but he cannot match the force, experience, and precision that Anthony Joshua brings to.
Than what people think he is. He is better than people think he is, but doesn't mean you can take on the former unified heavyweight champion of the world. I know some white collar fighters who are really good, but you ain't getting in with me, and I'm 42. I'll take your whiskers.
Adam Smith lays out the incredible advantage Anthony Joshua carries even after a long inactivity period. Tyson Fury praises Jake Paul for stepping up, but it does not change the reality that Joshua can control the pace and timing of this fight entirely. The gap in experience and skill is enormous. Paul may bring hype and energy, yet Joshua's strategic mind and knockout power render all of it irrelevant. Anthony Joshua decides when and how this fight ends, and no social media star can dictate the rhythm. The outcome is as inevitable as it is brutal for anyone trying to stand in Joshua's path.
Better than what people think he is. He is better than people think he is, but doesn't mean you can take on the former unified heavyweight champion of the world. I know some white collar fighters who are really good, but you ain't getting in with me, and I'm 42. I'll take your whiskers off you.
Don Charles breaks down why Anthony Joshua remains untouchable in this matchup. Tyson Fury may praise Jake Paul for his bravery, but it cannot mask the reality that Joshua's combination of punching power, physicality, and experience far exceeds anything Paul has faced. Every aspect of Anthony Joshua's game is built for high-level competition. Paul's hype and showmanship are no match for that. The sheer presence and ability of Joshua to control and dominate the fight make it obvious that Paul's chances are slim. Anthony Joshua is the definition of a true heavyweight champion, and nothing short of a miracle can alter that.
All the positives of Anthony Joshua, he has loads of positives. His punching power, his physicality, his experience at this level. Yeah.
Anthony Joshua stands on an entirely different plane from Jake Paul, and this entire saga proves it. Tyson Fury's praise for Jake Paul highlights his courage and flair, but he cannot disguise the reality that Joshua's punching power, technical mastery, and experience dominate every conceivable aspect of the fight. Paul may entertain the crowd with antics and social media bravado. Yet in the ring, Anthony Joshua is methodical, precise, and devastating. Every training session, every calculation, and every strike points to a fighter who knows how to end a fight and control the outcome from start to finish. The hype surrounding Jake Paul is only surface level and cannot withstand the force of a true heavyweight champion. Anthony Joshua has the tools, the skill, and the mental fortitude to dictate every moment. Are you backing Anthony Joshua to assert his dominance? Or do you think Jake Paul can shock the world? Drop your thoughts below and join the debate.